I thought that I would give a little bit of an update before I take the cromolyn on what my night kind of looked like and what my symptoms are right now currently, to just kind of document, how I feel after I take it, and what's better, what's worse, what stayed the same, and to see, how well this works and everything. So currently, for the past 2 months, I have been experiencing worse digestive issues than I normally do in terms of diarrhea. I have never in my life had so much diarrhea. Typically, I experience the opposite, which is just constipation, chronic constipation that is severe, which I still do have that in the midst of also having the diarrhea. But I have been trying to figure out, what caused it. It doesn't seem like it is like a sickness of any kind. I thought maybe I picked up like the norovirus or something going around, but I was tested for that and given like a bunch of lab work about a week ago to try to figure out what was going on with me exactly, and there wasn't any sort of viral or bacterial things going on or anything like that for me. So that kind of made it hard to understand what is causing this exactly. Um, so yesterday, the other week when I had the lab work done, they also did a complete blood count, which showed that my white blood cells were low. Um, a couple weeks prior to that, I went to the emergency room for IV fluids because I just couldn't keep up with um, between going to the bathroom and trying to drink enough water and all of that, and I wanted to make sure I didn't get too dehydrated. So they ran labs at that time, and that was the beginning of December, and my white blood cells were low at that time. And I asked them, what do you think they're low for? Like, what is the reason for that? And they just try to brush it off like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Sometimes people just have low white blood cells. For me, that's not normal. I do occasionally have an issue where there's low white blood cells, but it is usually if I'm like not feeling well or something like that. So I was like, that's, not typical, not normal for me. I'm not one of those people who just has low white blood cells. So I thought, well, maybe it is something that I'm like fighting off, or some kind of a bug or something that I caught, and that it would resolve. So it was a few weeks later, so towards the end of December, that I went to go have my labs rechecked. I think it was like 2.5 weeks later. And at that point, it came back that my white blood cells were still low, but even slightly lower than before. And my monocytes were high, not like really high, but slightly high. So I asked my doctor, why, and before he rechecked the labs for me, I was concerned about it, and I actually requested that my white blood cells be rechecked. And he had said, well, I'm not really that concerned, and if I had low white blood cells right now, I really wouldn't, be too concerned about it. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, if I didn't have any sort of symptoms and I felt okay, I wouldn't be concerned either. I wouldn't care if they were a little bit low either, but clearly something is going on. Um, and so he then ran the lab work, and then that's when I noticed that they went even lower, and my monocytes were high. So I had sent him a message and asked, why that might be, and also asking the question, is it safe for me to start cromolyn right now? I know that cromolyn affects your mast cells, but I was wondering, does it affect your white blood cells? And I tried to research it a little bit more and found that it actually does affect your white blood cells, and it can cause your white blood cell count to go low in some situations. And so I was like, well, I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing for me to start right now. Currently, there's a really bad flu season starting up over here, and I am quite nervous about it because of the way that I've been feeling already for the last couple of months and just really struggling. I don't really want to, be even more susceptible to getting sick, I guess. But I guess there's really not a whole lot that I can do about it. But I never received an answer back. So it's been like about a week now since I asked the question that I did, and I never got an answer. I tried to ask my allergist who prescribed me the medication if it was okay for me to take. I asked them a couple of weeks ago when I was in the middle of a digestive flare if even with the diarrhea and everything like that I could still take the cromolyn, because I was concerned that with diarrhea being a side effect of cromolyn, that it was going to make that worse for me. And they responded and just said, the reason why you're having the diarrhea right now could be because you're in a mast cell flare up, and that could be what is your problem and what's causing it. So at that point I didn't know that I had low white blood cells though. And so then I had asked, is it okay to take it with the low white blood cells? And I was told that my allergist wasn't going to be in the office back for like a whole 2 weeks. And so I had to just kind of wait for her to come back to answer that question. And I really don't want to wait to start the cromolyn for that long because of how I'm feeling. And like last night, I had a horrible flare up where, as I was in the middle of it, I just kept saying to myself, as much as I am kind of hesitant to take this medication and start it because I don't know what it's going to be like, I can't keep doing this and I have to do it. So that's why today I am going to start on it, in hopes that it helps me, and in hopes that, it actually works. It takes like 2 to 6 weeks to fully go through your system and for you to notice the benefits of it, I guess. So it takes a while to build up. So starting it now, I think, is smart. I probably should have started it months ago, but I have just not been feeling well and trying to wait till I was in a better place to feel better. But I think that, that's just not going to happen for me. So last night I had a flare up where I was trying to figure out what caused it for me exactly. I tend to get worse symptoms around my menstrual cycle and around ovulation. And currently for me, I was supposed to start my menstrual cycle like 2 days ago. So I tend to kind of be a few days off here and there. That time of the month for me is absolutely horrible. I could go into a whole nother video about that. But I think that my hormones kind of trigger my mast cells and make them worse. So I have that going on. And then I ate not very much at all yesterday. I had some oatmeal with some water and some butter. And then I had 6 Dino chicken nuggets, like the Tyson brand. I normally do not ever get Tyson chicken frozen like that because the only thing that I like from them is their chicken fries, but all other chicken I've tried from them has really just I have not liked it at all. And I never tried their Dino nuggets. I'm still a Dino nugget fan. And so I will sometimes get like different brands to try out to see which ones I might like. And those were just awful. The texture and the feel of them, it was like trying to bite into and chew a piece of actual rubber. Disgusting. So I did not feel very well after eating those. I ate some the night before as well, and I noticed that I felt nausea after I ate them, which should have been my first indication that maybe those were not good for me. But I thought maybe it was something else that I had eaten. I also ate some potato sticks that I got that were like gluten-free. There was only 3 ingredients, which was potato, salt, and cottonseed oil. And I noticed that when I ate those, I felt very nauseated afterwards and just not very good. And the day before, when I had tried to eat them, my stomach was also upset. So I think it's the oil that's in those that I just don't tolerate very well. But so that's what I thought kind of caused it, and I didn't really think it was for sure the chicken. So yesterday I ate 6 of the dino nuggets and still was hungry after, so I made a couple pieces of bread with sun butter on it, which is a safe food for me. That's never given me an issue. And I sat down, and about an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours most later, I felt my stomach turning, like the kind of like really painful cramps, like right before you get diarrhea. And I was like, okay, here we go. So I felt extremely nauseous, like I was going to puke, and just tried to carry on with my tasks, I guess. I couldn't stand in the shower to wash my hair, but I needed to wash it, so I washed my hair over the tub and just kind of tried my best to live with what my body was feeling and doing. It started to feel like it was getting a little more intense, so I tried to hurry up and just turn the water off and then comb my hair as fast as I could. Then I had to go to the bathroom. Um, and I felt like it wasn't as severe as like a couple weeks prior, but it was enough to bring me to my knees. So I collapsed to the ground and just kind of laid there for a little bit. I felt dizzy. I felt like my throat was getting a little bit tight or like swollen. Um, and I just felt in that moment like, okay, I have to try this medicine. Like, I cannot wait any longer to try it, because if what's going on for me is mast cell related, this has to try to be managed, you know? So I looked up the actual name of the medication is called gastrocrom, I believe. And I never really looked it up on Google or anything like that. So I looked it up, and I will put the description here of what the medicine actually is that I'm going to be starting and taking. And so the side effects of the medicine sounds a lot like what I'm already experiencing. And it says that for a lot of people, it's hard to tell if it's the side effects from the medication or if it's like their normal mast cell symptoms or whatever. So for me, I don't know if, this is going to make it worse for me, if it's going to stay the same, if it's going to make it better. I'm a little bit nervous because I don't know if my body is really in a place where I could handle, worsening symptoms or whatever, but I'm going to try to, I'm going to try because I don't know what else to do at this point. So I just thought that I would share a little bit about where I'm at physically and mentally before I go in about an hour to take this medicine and try it for the first time. And then I will give an update as to what it tastes like, what the experience is like, what I feel afterwards, if I have any sort of side effects afterwards, and how I do with it all, so that anybody else out there who might be, curious about this, maybe wanting to try this medicine. I'm not saying like my experience would be the same as yours, but just giving a description of like my symptoms and stuff. And if it sounds similar to yours, maybe you might want to try this, or if you're scared to try it like I am, maybe it can be helpful to see me actually try it. So, and see what happens for me. So I thought that I would share my experience with it. And yeah, so hopefully it goes okay. And I'm hungry right now. I want to eat some like toast or something, but I'm worried what that's going to do. My stomach is kind of rumbling still, like it's on the verge of having an episode like I had last night. I did have some noodles after I settled down and everything. And it was just a really long and difficult night last night. So yeah, I am going to end this here and give an update when I actually take the medicine. I thought that I would update what it was like taking the cromolyn sodium and talk a little bit about it. Like I said, I was really nervous to take this medicine. I'm nervous to really start any kind of new medication just because of side effects and because I don't know what my body will react to, what kind of hypersensitivities I might have to things. And so it is overwhelming to me and causes a great deal of anxiety. Um, so I wasn't feeling very well last night. I haven't been feeling very well for the past, well, a long time. But last night I had a flare up of a continuing flare up that's been going on pretty significantly for the past 2 months. And so before I went to take the cromolyn, I had my heart rate increase pretty much from the start of the day. I think because of everything that I was feeling last night and all of that, my nervous system was kind of all over the place, couldn't really function properly, I guess. So I had quite a bit of tachycardia before I went to take the cromolyn sodium. So some things that I noticed about taking it is it's very hard to get it out of the package. It's really hard to separate two from the packaging, but once that I did that, it was easy to kind of mix in there and everything. And I was expecting it to have a very strong salty taste because it has sodium in it, to my understanding, cromolyn sodium. And so I was expecting some kind of flavor, but there wasn't any that I could It was just tasted like plain water, no different really than water at all, to me at least. And so I finished that and I sat and I waited a little bit to see if I was going to have any sort of a reaction or feel any sort of symptoms immediately that I was noticing. And I didn't. A couple of things that I can say is that I noticed that shortly after I took it, it didn't take long at all. My heart rate came down and it started to feel more comfortable. I also felt almost like my airways opened up a little bit, like it was easier to breathe. And I don't know if that was just coincidence or if that was, I don't know if it would have worked that quickly or not, or if that was, if that was a result of the medication. But so I waited about 30 minutes and then I ate some toast with some sun butter on it, which is typically a safe food for me. And I was going to get like a big lunch at the cafeteria and sit down and eat that, but I wasn't feeling like I should really risk that quite yet, because this hasn't really had a chance to build up in my system. And with the flare ups that I've been having and the symptoms that I had last night, and then waking up this morning, I had a lot of flushing on my cheeks and I had a hive by my eye. So I knew that my body had been struggling with histamine as it was, and I didn't want to go and eat something that maybe was going to trigger more of an issue for me. So I just kept it simple with something that I'm usually okay with. And my plan was to gradually increase the dose so that it wasn't overwhelming to my system and I was able to like gradually kind of get used to taking it. So my plan was to take one dose today and then tomorrow take 2 doses and then the next day take the 3 doses and then the next day take the 4 and then from there on out just continue taking the 4 doses a day. But I just really have not been feeling very well. So I think that instead of doing that, I might just jump right into it and just take all the doses that I'm supposed to take, and just hope for the best and hope that I don't have any significant symptoms from this medication. Um, but like I said, so far, I don't feel any different. I feel pretty much the same as I did prior to taking it. There was, like I said, a brief moment after I first took it where I felt some symptoms kind of subside a little bit, but I don't know if that was just a momentary thing or if it was due to that. Um, but yeah, I just thought that I would share my experience and then kind of update every now and then how it's going, how I feel. If I notice that I feel better or if I notice any sort of changes, I will share that in case it can be helpful to somebody else. And I actually think that I will show like what the medication looks like, just in case anybody is curious what it looks like and all of that up close. I don't know if anybody would be, but I'll just share that. So it comes in this big box and it's light sensitive, so you can't keep it anywhere in direct light. It has to be somewhere where it's not exposed to a lot of light for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, so it comes in this pretty big box, and then inside of the box there are multiple like foil packets. I don't know if they all look like this or if this is just the one that I got, but I figured I would show it because sometimes I get curious about things like this. And then the foil pouches look like this, and they're very hard to open, but after I took them, I realized I opened it wrong because it says open by tearing at the serrated edge along the seam, which I'm guessing is right here. And I try to rip it over here, so it probably would be easier to open right here. And then they look like this, just little vials of liquid. You are not supposed to take them if they look cloudy or discolored in any sort of a way. If they do, you have to throw them away, so they have to be clear. and then you just kind of tear one off and then mix it in and all of that. These are also very hard to get off of the packaging for some reason, so you have to really, I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm like a weakling or something, but I just thought that I would share a little bit about what it was like, in hopes that maybe somebody else who thinks that they have this condition or who does have this condition can kind of find answers faster than I did and help faster than I did. And yeah, and just figured I'd share it. So that's it for this one.